In the next 1-hour video, I'm going to show you how I made a motorcycle saddle seat, starting with a piece of 4-inch foam rubber that I cut off the edge of this. Before we get started though, I just needed to mention this tool that I noticed from the very beginning. It just was not flying straight, but you know, as you can see, as long as I used it very fast, it didn't really matter that much. But when it got down to where I'm rounding these corners off and detailing everything, making everything perfect, as you can see, flying crooked just wasn't making it. So I had to figure out what was wrong, and luckily it wasn't my tool that was wrong. What I had was a crooked mandrel. So I just take that mandrel off, put on a good one, and as you can see, it works just fine. So I just wanted to make that little disclaimer so that you people would know that you're not going to get any tools that don't work right. Now this seat has just a couple little things I want yet to finish on it. That is, I want to take this sharp edge off where this goes, like this material folds over like this. I don't want a sharp edge on it. And I don't know if you can tell, this is not quite shaped exactly like this. This is kind of in like this, and this is kind of out like this. So with this tool working properly now, except for I haven't tightened it up, and I don't know, I'm always losing it, silly chuck, so maybe it won't, maybe it'll be alright since we're not using it fast. As you can see, it doesn't take much. There, as you can see, that's shaped the same. So now you can see where I'm going to sew it together right here. I think I'm going to use a line in between these two lines. This line's got to come down a little bit in here. But anyway, right here is where I want to round that. So and as you can see, that's all there is to it. I'll do the other side, and then one last little thing I'll show you I need to do. I'm not going to show you me doing it, I'm just going to do it. This video's getting long enough. Now you can see why I normally always tie these things down, nail them down, because you don't want them moving as you're working on them. And you see, that's all there is to it. Now the only last little thing I got to do is fix this up back here. That's all. You can see I need to glue a little piece on because this isn't quite right. Shape that down a little bit, that's no big deal. Just next video you're going to see is how to upholster a motorcycle saddle seat, and then this thing will be done. Oh, I got to fill this area right in here too. It's another mistake I made. From the very start, I should have made those pieces out a little bit, but I'll just glue a piece on there and do it that way. Anyway, this motorcycle seat's done. All we gotta do is upholster it. That's the easy part. So anyway, I'm telling you, if you guys purchase these tools, you will absolutely love them. They really do work. They work real good. I've been using them for, I don't know, 20 years now. I've never worn one out. If you buy this tool, it would be a tool that you will use for quite some time. Like I say, I have never worn one out. Especially now that the ones that I make for sale, I mean, they're far superior to the ones that I made for myself that actually I still have. I don't use it. I use the good ones now. Anyway, we'll see you guys. Thank you. Okay, I need to tell you first how I got to where I'm at. I started with a square piece of foam, 15 inches by 10.5 inches. And then I made a pattern to match this curve, put it on the foam, marked it, took my foam rubber knife and just cut it like this, which of course, as you can see, makes grooves on it. And then after setting it on here, I realized I'm lacking a little bit here, so I glued a little piece of foam on here. My next move was I set it on here and I drew around the seat. I cut these off, then I realized that's too narrow, so I glued these two pieces back on. Now that piece fits fairly well with room for your little bum to go here. Now my next step was to cut a piece of foam rubber for here. Now I wanted this to be about 2 inches thick here, so I just made a pattern on the bottom. I set this on here with this at about 2 inches. Set that on there, made my marks. And then of course my foam rubber knife is not long enough to go all the way through there, so I first had to cut the foam in half. And after cutting the foam in half, my knife would go all the way through it. I did both sides, then I glued it back together, and I have this. And then of course, setting this in place, I realized this piece is 1/2 inch short too, so I glued a little piece onto there. Okay, so now it's time to start shaping. Okay, now the first thing I want to do is kind of round this off so it's not so groovy. And you always pin your foam rubber down to something solid, such as this. Never have your partner hold your foam rubber for you, because this tool will grind right straight through bone immediately. So hold it in place with pins, because we don't care what you do to the pins. Now I want to round this off a little bit. Now with this tool, this is a very light touch tool. You don't push down with it like you do with sandpaper, because it will just work too fast that way. Now I want to get a little more round on this. And I just got to get it in the right position. Should I guess I just left it where it was. As you can see, that's a very light touch tool. Okay. Okay, now the next step is to trim off all this excess, yet leaving a little wide up on top here. So we're going to take our foam rubber knife, and it's always easy to take more foam off. So don't try to get it all done the first time. Just like that. I may have taken a little more off there than what I need to, but we got a little extra, so we should be able to deal with it. And And so you can see that's starting to form in there a little bit. So we're just going to nail that down and then take my tool. I will probably use the little one for this because it's going to be slightly curved. That's why I call this the Groovy Groover. So tell me when it's ready.
No.
Okay, now you can see my black mark here. That's what I want to work up to, and of course I want to stay to this edge here. It's a very light touch tool. It's not like sandpaper where you have to press on it. You just touch it. Okay, then we turn it around, we do the other side. I mean, that kind of looks right to me, doesn't it? My line, that's what we're working up to. And of course my line down here. Now I may have to fill these little places with a piece of foam rubber, but you know, that's not hard to do. Okay, next step. I think the next step would be, of course we want this foam rubber to be about 2 inches thick. And so we're going to draw an imaginary line right here at about 2 inches, and we're going to come up like this. So let me find my pencil.
No.
Ready? Okay, now I have used cheap glue, temporarily glued this in place so that we can kind of get a feel on what it's going to be shaped like. Now we know that we want about 2 inches thick here, and we want it to go up for your backrest. And then, of course, we just follow it right on around like this. And that's about what we're going to shape. I think this needs to be a little bit higher. So I have a piece to glue onto here to make that a little bit higher, but we'll see how this goes. Okay, now we're ready to start shaping it into a motorcycle seat. Foam rubber knife. Now when I cut here, I'm going to cut straight here, but when I get into this area here, I'm going to kind of curve this way a little bit, just to give myself a little extra room in case we need it. Always easy with this tool to sand more off. Now, I don't know if I should be doing this by eyeball, but that's the way we're doing it. Alright, now we're starting to get a little bit of a motorcycle saddle seat on there, aren't we? Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a pattern of this and get it drawn on there with a felt pen so that we make no mistakes, and then we'll transfer it to the other side so that the other side looks the same. That's important. If you make a mistake on one side, you make a mistake on the other side, so they look the same and everybody thinks that's the way it's supposed to be. Alright, now you can see it's already kind of starting to look like a motorcycle saddle seat. You can see I've drawn my lines on here. I got them on both sides the same. So we just start trimming away. Now as you can see, my knife's not going to be long enough to go all the way across, so we're just going to kind of have to go part way with it. I always save these pieces of foam rubber. I have them in a box. Whenever I get a job that has damaged foam rubber on it, I glue this in place, I sand it down, and it's repaired foam rubber. A whole lot cheaper than buying new foam rubber. And we'll do this in the same way. Now as you can see, I always cut above the line because it's always so easy just to take more off. Alright, let's kind of get the back of it shaped a little bit here. Alright, now I'm just going to take this piece off. And we're starting to get our bucket. Now, though this needs to be taken down, I want to take as much of it off with this as I can because as you see, this tool kind of makes a mess. So I am going to draw a line on there where I need to cut to. And see just how much of that I can cut out of there. And so of course it's time for the deep dish. We'll put this in here and we'll take that down to what we need. And of course we'll use the 5-inch fix it fast for the top of it to make it flat. Okay. Alright, now for the fun part, shape the foam rubber. I have a line on this other side just like this, and that's what I'm going to do first, is get it down to the lines. And then just connect them. Now I think in here I'm going to start using a little groovy groover because it's not really exactly flat in here, is it? Yeah, I think I better switch to the groovy groover. Where is
It's here.
Where? No, this. Alright, now I think it's time to switch to our deep dish. I wonder if I should. Alright, let me move that around a little bit. Okay, I'm liking it. Alright, oh, we gotta catch up with the other side again. No, I think that's getting closer. Let's just kind of get the front now, even with the bum part here. And of course we're going to have to switch back to our little groovy groover because we're going to start slowly flattening it out. Alright, now I think we'll just kind of set this on the motorcycle seat and see what it looks like. Oh, as you can see, it is starting to get there. Starting to look like a motorcycle seat. We have a little more work to do. I think we're not going to have to glue that piece on the top. That looks kind of like deep enough for me. I think what we'll do is just temporary glue this piece on, then we'll permanently glue this piece on, and then we'll kind of clean this up in this area, and then we'll glue it back on the motorcycle seat, and we'll finish it back here because these have got to marry together. This has got to go back a little bit more, but like I say, you take a little bit at a time. If you try to do it all at once, you end up starting all over with a new piece of foam rubber. Okay, ready? Alright, now as you can see, I've already shaped this side, just matched the bottom to the top and round it off. And there you go. So now we're going to do the other side, and you can watch me do that. I am going to start with a little groovy groover because it's a slight groove in here, and we'll get that evened out right up to this line, right on down to this line. And right to this line too, of course. little bit of a problem here, so I'm going to fix that. And then of course for this tight corner in here we're going to have to switch to the little deep dish. And that's all there is to it. I think we're ready to glue this to the motorcycle set, to the sheet metal. And then we just finish rounding things off. We'll do this, and we'll just go from there and finish it up while it's glued to this. It won't be so hard to hold it in place. We'll just leave this loose so I can take a clamp and clamp that in place so that this doesn't move as I'm working with it. Okay, now we have glued this on. We're ready to start working it up and finishing it up. But I look at this and I realize this is too far back. This needs to come up and come kind of straight up right here. So I'm just going to glue this back on, then trim it off up here and kind of shape it where I want it to be. And if that doesn't bring it far enough forward, I'll just glue a piece of 1/2-inch foam in here and we'll bring it up wherever I want it. That's the good idea about this. I can do whatever I want to with it. So here we go. Okay, now I've made myself a new pattern here. We're going to draw ourselves a new line. Start with the handy dandy customized foam rubber cutter. Now I think that looks a little bit better. And of course after we shape this we're going to see exactly where we want this, but we probably want that to be up around there like that. And of course we'll make a pattern on this, get it the same on both sides. So let's go ahead and clamp this down. I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra holding power here. Where's my hammer? And we'll start with the deep dish here. I don't know, that looks pretty good to me. I kind of messed that up a little bit, but we'll just kind of round that off on both sides and make it the same. I think we'll use our little groovy groover or mini whiz, whatever you want to call it. I used to call it the mini whiz, but since I figure it's supposed to make leg grooves, I decided to call it a groovy groover. So I think we'll just kind of round this out a little bit here. And of course we'll do the other one the same. Now it's time to make that the same on both sides. Put that back up where it belonged. Looks about right to me. Remember, if you make a mistake, you just make a pair of them and tell them it was supposed to be that way. The way you do upholstery. Just gotta make sure you make a pair of mistakes and it makes it right. And I think I'll go ahead and unclip that so I can get a hold of it. Remember, I don't want to cut it once, I want to cut it like this so then I can come to the bottom side and then connect them in the middle. And then of course we'll finish rounding that off. And of course we'll use the little mini whiz in here. I think we're just going to have a little bit of a difficulty kind of holding this exactly where we want it. But I'll just have to scrunch on down on my haunches where I get in front of what I'm doing. It'd be hard for you to see on that side exactly what I'm doing, but I think we'll start on the bottom side of this. Like I said, it's going to be a little hard to get this one right exactly where we want it. And of course that needle's going to be too big to go all the way through there. We'll get a different needle. Go. think that's pretty much what we want. Of course, we'll do the other side the same. And I think what I will do is deep dish for this corner in here. And then of course I forgot to round that this corner to look like that corner. Now, all of this is getting pretty close. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and come in here and clean this side up. Finish cleaning this up. Get this side to match this side. And I'm going to go ahead and finish this up off camera. It won't take long, but you get the picture. You know what's going on here. It's easy to do. Takes a little bit of time. You just have to remember this is a touch tool. Don't press hard on it. You will go too quickly. Trust me, you will love this tool. The thing I did was I took my knife and I cut these curves right here to match the curve of the pan. And with my little groovy groover, I made, smoothed it out for the leg grooves here. Now the main purpose of my video is not so much to show you how to make a motorcycle saddle seat. My main purpose is to sell you the Whiz Gidget. These are dutterscutters. I'm a dutter, so there's dutterscutters. Whiz Gidget. This is my 5-inch Fix It Fast. I use this first to flatten this out and get it started. And then of course I use my deep dish in here to make your saddle seat. And the little 3.5-inch groovy groover to make my little leg grooves. And basically that's it. You can contact me through dutterscutters.com. And on the website you will see all three of these tools sold individually or as a set. Now one last thing I have to do, I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to glue this on here and put a little more on here or whether I'm just going to leave it flat. I have set on it the way it is and it is comfortable the way it is. I'm just thinking it might look better if I put that on there. And to tell you the truth, I just haven't figured out yet exactly what I'm going to do, but you know how this tool works, and if you really want to know whether I add this piece to it or not, I'm going to follow this up with a how to upholster a motorcycle saddle seat, and then you will know whether I added this piece or not. Ready? Okay, now as you can see, I went ahead and decided to add this on there to kind of make the seat a little bit deeper. As I'm doing it, I put it on here, I set on it, and this just needs to be taken back a little bit because it's just too straight up and down. And so, as you already know, you really need to nail these seats in place. And I think I'm going to start with a little groovy groover and just kind of set this back a little bit. I'm not working in here where I need the deep dish, I'm just working up here. Now as you can see, I use a drill motor, but if you had a little grinder, that would actually be even easier yet. But I don't have a grinder, so I use a drill motor. Every time I go to do this, I go, oh, I need a grinder, and then by the time I get done, I say, well, I don't need a grinder, it's done. Alright, I think we're just going to sit on that and see what happens. I don't know. I don't want all that foam rubber stuff. Who cares? Oh yes, much better. That's all there was to it. So, I have a little more to do on this seat, just a little bit of fine tuning. You look at it very closely, you can see that it's a little bit high right here. I need a little more shaping in here. I think I want to lower this down a little bit, but we'll see. Mostly what I want to do is raise this by 1/2 inch and do this by 1/2 inch on each side. I just got a piece of foam rubber I have cut for just wrapping around this, and of course you can see that it fits, I cut it at an angle, fits real nice here, but when you wrap it around the side, so I'm going to lay this down, take my tool and shape that off a little bit. Be easy to do. So that's pretty much this seat done. I have a little bit of real fine tuning to do. You can see that it's a little bit misshaped here, so I got to even everything up, so just so it looks the same on both sides. You don't need to see on camera how I do that. You know it needs to be done, and you will see that it's all done when you watch my video, How to Upholster a Motorcycle Saddle Seat. And we'll show you then exactly how we're going to reupholster it. Now, I was taught growing up that there's only 2 ways of doing anything and everything, and that is my dad's way and the wrong way. But I don't see it that way. There's more than one way to do anything and everything. It's just that my way is better than your way, that's all. No, seriously, there's about 3 different ways of doing this. This seat is going to have to be done in 3 to 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, or 3, 4. You've got this curve here and here, so it's probably going to have to be 2 different pieces here. You might get away with doing this in 1 piece. But then you have to glue or sew your sides onto your top. There's about 3 different ways of doing that. This top can be here and only to here, and you sew a side on all the way around. With a seam here, and here, and a seam in front. That is not the way I would do this. The other 2 ways of doing it is the seat up front will go down on the side. On the front here you will have a seam here, and you can have a seam that goes either here or here, up and like this. That puts a seam here, 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 and here. No seam here. The other way of doing it is the back piece wrapping down just like the front, these pieces here, and this piece that comes right straight down here like this. So it's kind of a matter of which way is going to look better. The thing about a seam being here and a seam being here is your legs are on that seam, and it's not really real comfortable, and more important than that, it's a little place for water to leak and get into your foam rubber. However, when you do a motorcycle seat like this, you do put a thin layer of plastic over the top of it so that the foam rubber doesn't get wet. So you can solve that problem, but it just looks better this way and this way. The thing I'm wondering about is, would it look better this way or this way? So after I add this piece onto it, I'll draw lines onto it, and I'll look at it and see which way would look better, and maybe I'll get a few comments on which way you guys think it would look better. Other than that, I have just a little more tune-up work to do on this, put that foam rubber on this, and the next step will be upholstering a motorcycle saddle seat. And you can go onto my website, dutterscutters.com, and there will be links to these YouTube videos. We'll see you then.